Heard many stories about accidents, right, caused by drunk drivers, but what should you do if it happens to you? Well, here to explain is Marco Bocciarelli from Friedman, Damiano, and Smith. And it sounds like a bad scenario to get in an accident and guy's drunk, you don't know what to do. What do you do?
Well, at Friedman, Damiano, and Smith, we've been helping people that are hurt and injuries for almost 50 years. And just to give you some idea of how serious it is, and I don't want to jock just statistics, but there's 11,000 fatalities in the United States every year involving intoxicated drivers. That's not going down. That's consistent over many years. In Cleveland or in Ohio, it's about 400 a year. And in the Cleveland area, in Ohio alone, there are over 2,000 drivers who have been convicted of OVI 10 times or more. So this is a real serious issue that we have to deal with and that you have to be aware of when you're involved in a motor vehicle accident.
So you're in an accident and maybe you don't even know about the other person, the other driver, and you're taking it for granted the police are going to take care of this or your insurance company is going to take care of this, but why shouldn't we believe that?
Well, the first thing that I would tell anyone, and you said this a little bit, but if you're in an accident, get the police involved. That helps document all the facts that you're going to need later down the road. People will always try to talk you out of it. Please don't call the police. We can just handle this out of court, something like that. The police investigation file is never going to hurt you. And on top of that, if you see something when the police are involved, say something, because you're an observer right there at the scene immediately.
Right.
The police, the other person involved may get back in their car after the collision, but you may see something that's worth mentioning, and that may change how the police investigate something for you.
So this guy, somebody could skate, like be in an accident, sort of a minor accident, but causes you problems, and maybe be under the influence, but the police don't quite catch it.
Right.
So
there's always, a lot of time there's some interaction between you and the other driver. You may see something that the police don't because, you know, the flashing lights start going and that's a sobering effect, right?
Yeah.
It's worth saying something to them like, look, I observed this behavior. Because you want to make sure that things are documented as well as they can be.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay, people know they shouldn't be drinking and driving. People know they shouldn't be using their telephone and driving, and they say that's almost as bad. So what do you do about that?
It's the same thing. You know, well, that actually brings me to an important point because one of the important things that you need to do when you're involved in an accident is retain an attorney, okay? It feels like maybe the last thing you should be worrying about, but getting a good attorney, getting somebody who knows how to handle your case is actually going to take pressure off of you rather than put it on you. And for something that you mentioned, like being involved with the telephone or OVI or whatever it may be, I'm going to know how to make sure that those facts are documented, and especially with something like the telephone, I can get into the heart of that.
So you can go backwards and find out if, in fact, they were on their phone.
If it's a necessary issue to find out, we can go subpoena documents or
That's a big
subpoena
deal.
phone records and make sure that people are telling the truth when it comes time to talk about that collision.
And how about cannabis now? Like cannabis isn't legal in Ohio, but people use it in Ohio, or if you're in a different state, does that come into play here also?
So OVI is driving under the influence, right? That is not drug or alcohol specific. It could be almost anything. If it's inhibiting your ability to drive.
Under the influence of too much coffee.
Yeah, I mean, it literally could be. I mean, you're rarely going to see that, right? But
like
yeah, but it's how it impacts you as a driver. If you cannot reasonably control your vehicle, then you're under the influence of an intoxicant.
Well, Friedman, Damiano, and Smith. So, I mean, you've got these questions out there. You get in an accident. The most important thing, as you said, was to make sure the police get involved because a lot of people want to pull their car off the road, exchange numbers, and just take off. That could ruin the whole, I mean, that could be a bad move, right? Well,
You never know, actually, at the scene of the collision, what's wrong with you. And let me just tell you one really quick story. Last week, I was in trial. I got a $450,000 verdict for my client. The reason that I was able to do that, though, is that when she was having problems, she would go to the doctor. She would document what was wrong with her. And as time went on, it continued to be documented. It's important that you get treatment if you're involved in one of these collisions because you don't know, you're not a doctor, you don't know what's going to be wrong with you at the time of the collision.
Okay, so they're very important information. Friedman, Damiano, and Smith, thank you very much. Great to see you again.
Hey, nice to see you too.
This
Thank
is
you.
the handshake in the world of coronavirus.
I'm going to go off screen and do the...
There we go. Document it, please.
Yes, exactly.
When we return, it's about dessert, folks. And guess what? It's in our kitchen, and it's healthy.